Now I'm just going to read a few from my book, The Lyrics, which just came out a few weeks ago, actually just before I came here to Ireland. And I'm just going to dive right in. I'll read one little set from this section, which is called, I don't even remember, 40 Days. When donkeys traveled without glancing to the side, long-lashed and buckled inside their own hide, when they brayed for joy into the gray industrial clouds, and the cows replied, like balloons deflating into moos, the strain on the immaculate heart was as grave as it could get. Awful pity to be so blessed as to pound for happiness. Near a bombed post office in a kind of Dublin, the rain began autumn and a day. All fell flat on the tracks. The rest was dry from draining, while walls were axed by the torrential pain. The Sacred Heart was here observed for study. Things mean things. Not just in books one looks, one pries, and one is ignorant, but also in the reader's mind. Give me my shawl, my corkscrew, and my cloth bag. Give me my hot water bottle and my book. Give me my stick and my water, one shoe for walking and one to dance. No stability, thirst, the will to keep moving, an instrument's heat. Bald mountains and a spider that was a leaf. The scheme is organic, it knows itself. See that light across the enslaved sea? Redemption time knows when. If I were Jesus, would you slap both sides of my face? If I were Jesus, would you stamp on my hands? If I was Jesus, would you lock me up? Would you make me crawl down the prison hall? Would you cover my head, stick my face in the pot? Would you rape me? If I were Jesus, would you break down the door? Would you wreck the house and terrify my family? If I was Jesus, would you bomb my trees, my place of parables, the fig trees and the rivers of wheat? If I were Jesus, well, I'm not, so please go right ahead. And then I'll end with a longer poem called The Question. So why then did you leave the village of your childhood? Why did you opt for a gray and brutalist zone, devoted to might and money, unless you wanted some? Why else? In the airport restaurants you smell shit, and in the motel fabrics, sex and smoke make you gag. Restless businessmen, too many of them, blink into machines they carry on the planes. Discarded antidepressants are replaced by vodka and cranberry. They call women by their wives' names. They have medicinal eyes that can't cure anyone. You go up 33,000 feet with an abject army of travelers. Some wear pale, grummy fatigues around the terminals. When the soldiers see themselves in plate glass reflections, they are proud to be protecting this free-for-all. Be grateful, they are heroes. Why did you leave the village to help support these things with your interest? To what end? To bury yourself alive among millions? To suffer work without reward? Do you prefer to remember more than to live inside the limits offered to you at birth? That village was made of intelligent stones. Stones had brains, too. Its port was built on a gentle bay, and among all the swimmers, their penises and eggs and genius, even the shark, a symbol of the modern world, served a function. A fish knows what it is. Even the clouds are mindful, and the rain burns up thought falling from consciousness into all these brains made of the same matter. Why did you walk out from under the stars of your ordinary town? Why carry your soul, the child, through dishes of hors d'oeuvres as a waiter, gossip and even participate in the conversation? The shrubs need watering, the birds are dry. The trees are rotting from lack of attention. Why didn't you care for them? You are too late to analyze or care for the economy and its competitions. This is the sad part. You left home in order to find a home. You wanted to build it yourself this time. Why else seek with such fervor and uncertainty the fragments of the familiar? To think of yourself this way as special, the only one for the job? Did you leave in order to track red lights and green through the traffic because they looked like Christmas? To taste the bitter honey on a stranger's tongue, to hear him roaring instructions to people poorer than he, to be reminded of your teacher? To see in his cold green eyes a drop of the sea you played in his hairy chest a replication of your father who protected you? Is that why you went? Did you leave in order to retrieve these little bits of experience and add them to your secret cache? So you could bring them back and give a lecture on what you discovered, that specks of the lost can only be identified as lost. Why didn't you just stay home? Once you were a carrier of both child and soul, but when you became a self, you bundled them up and took them out of the city limits. You lacked the capacity for carrying so much. Still, you wanted to rebuild your village out of the pieces that shine and remind you how safe and happy you were on its park benches on days of no school. Why did you leave your native country? To become a different kind of being. A realist who can recognize and classify the pieces of the lost. To be the only one. It's true they sparkle as they vanish, and finding them lets you know you are credible at home in the world. Thank you.